Welcome, everyone, to the 23rd episode of PAOK Talk. We are your hosts, Angelo and Jono. Jono, how are you on this evening?
Angelo, doing great. A lot has happened, man, in the last week, let alone 24 hours with PAOK, so we've got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's been a crazy, even 12 hours, right, since everything started breaking. But yeah, so we're just gonna hop right into it. This is gonna be end of the year review, where we're gonna obviously talk about the head coaching scenario that we've all witnessed today. And then we're going to go back and look at some expectations for Lucescu, and then look at a couple of players and see who we want to keep, who maybe we can bring in. Just look at the player side of things. But first, let's talk about the big topic that I think a lot of people are going to be listening in for, the whole Pablo Garcia saga, and him being relieved of his duties. And what do you think about that? Immediately, especially so quickly after the Cup final, right? Just a couple of days. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I'll be lying. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't surprised, especially after winning the Cup final. There had been rumblings. There had been rumblings for months, honestly. Like, Lucescu had been linked with a return, I think, from around March, when our form started to decline, and he had lost his job in Saudi Arabia. So he had kind of been linked then, and I think a lot of fans thought nothing of it. And now here we are. So yeah, I had heard rumbling, or the rumblings had been around as well, had come back the last few weeks. Garcia had those, he had that, not press conference, he spoke to the press after the Asteras game, where he kind of, had made some interesting comments that made people think that, he was arrowing towards an exit. So He had obviously caught wind of it then, a week before it was announced. We obviously had the Cup final in between, and he's pulled the team together. He's put that aside and gotten a huge result to us, a result that saved our season, obviously something that we discussed in a previous episode. But yeah, I mean, my initial reaction was one of surprise, not necessarily shock, but I was surprised. I didn't think that they would actually go through with it. Before we kind of get into the depths of analyzing why and how it's happened, what was your initial reaction? Was it something that you were shocked at?
Yeah, I like what you said about. I think you said you were surprised but not shocked, right? That was wording you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that fits perfectly. It was always in the back of my mind that it would be a possibility that he would be leaving, especially after the tea leaves have been settled the past couple weeks. It sounded like it was inevitable for him for it to happen. But I think my biggest thing was how quickly it happened, right? And then how quickly we announced the replacement. We'll get to that a bit later. But I think a lot of people that listen to this series and through the forums, I've been somewhat critical, but I think it was warranted criticism from how we've been playing, especially at the beginning of the season. And I posted this on Twitter as well. But I do have to give him credit. I think that he started to get control of the team towards the end of the season. It could have just been a luck situation where we weren't getting the bounces earlier on, and we ended up getting the fair share of luck after. So it could have just been evening out. But, I do think that maybe we could have kept him for another season, with him accomplishing the goal, right? Ultimately, we finished second and we won the Cup. That's if you ask us any other season, I think that would be a successful season. I think the main issue was how far behind Olympiacos we were. I think we talked about that last episode, right? So, yeah, I mean, surprised but not shocked. It's also been rumored that he was asked to take that B team job if that does go through. Would you take it if you were him?
Look, I've read mixed things. If I was, I don't know. I understand how. I kind of understand how he must be feeling. He's been at this team for 13 years. He must be feeling really, really shitty. At least initially when he was told. Right. And he probably knew what was coming. He went into a meeting, obviously over Skype with Savivis and the board, and he probably knew what was coming. But the emotion emotions that he was feeling. Apparently, so I initially read that he walked out and didn't respond. Then I've read that he asked for more time to decide. But PAOK's kind of uploaded a bunch of goodbye videos and thank you. So, I mean, whether that lends itself to interpretation that he's said no to that, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like it would be a hard step to take. And if he, like, it would be hard to take that backward step. I really don't know what I would do. I mean, if I was Garcia and I thought I was ready to coach a team, it would be on the manager to be looking for, for a first team job. So I probably wouldn't accept it initially without kind of, feeling out the waters around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I can't imagine how he would have felt, like given how long he's been at the team. He kind of stepped in at a time in need. I mean, debatable whether Ferreira was, going to be sacked. It was by mutual consent officially, but, Garcia, like you said, it had kind of been written that in the stars that he was going to take over. So from last season. So yeah, I really don't know. But yeah, I mean, just to so we'll move into talking about the whole thing and like the decision. I mean, I'm not necessarily mad at Lucescu taking over, but how this has happened and how it's played out, like you said, so quickly, I think it's left, well, for me, it's left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm kind of not happy with how they've handled it. I mean, what was your alternative though? Like, it was probably a bit of a fork in the road moment for the club. So they probably didn't expect Garcia to settle the team and get us second and win the cup.
Right.
And Lucescu's been on the cards for a while, for a few weeks, maybe
That's
a
what
month,
I think.
maybe longer.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And it comes to the point, all right, Garcia's now won the cup. He's come second. Lucescu is available. He wants to come. We know what he's accomplished. He's PAOK's most successful coach. If we still don't know if Garcia can coach, right? He needs another season. Do we let Lucescu slip? And, maybe Garcia bombs, and then we might never see Lucescu again. He might go to Italy, he might go wherever and be successful. So that's probably what it came down to, and that's probably why they made the decision. And I would dare say that the decision has been made, because like you said, the announcements happened very quickly. So stuff was obviously in place. It didn't happen in the 2 days following the cup final.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I've just dropped a lot there, but it's just, I'm still processing it all. Like, it's hard, like, to kind of comprehend and decide how you feel, because when you're dealing with a legend of the club, and I think we mentioned this at the time of Garcia's appointment, it can get sticky in situations like this, because you haven't just, sacked the coach, you've sacked someone that's been at the club for 13 years.
Right.
Which is why I kind of feel a little bit about it. But I mean, yeah, like, I don't know, because like you mentioned, you were critical of Garcia, you did come around, his results improved towards the end of the season. How are you feeling about the whole thing, how it's been handled, and Lucescu now being our head coach?
If I were him, I wouldn't take the B job. Now, the only reason why I could see him maybe taking the B job is that he could work on his qualifications, right? His coaching certifications more while he's coaching the B side to hopefully for him get into a bigger position. But I think someone will come knocking. I'm sure his agent is working on it, and you could look at the fact that the team was struggling and then he turned it around and be a historically good Olympiacos team. So that would definitely be in his favor. But yeah, how things went down, kind of shady. From when PAOK announced it to they announced Lucescu coming, it was only 13 minutes, which is, I think, just an insane amount of time in terms of just absolute. It seemed like they didn't even care. All right, we're going to announce that he's gone. 13 minutes later, all right, we already have our new coach, right? So that pretty much makes it obvious that, yeah, we had it set in stone for a while. But I'll tell you what, if I was Lucescu, I wouldn't want Pablo on the B side, right? Say he has a slow start. Say he has a slow start, things don't go well, maybe we drop a game in the Conference League or whatever. Now you would have the same exact things going. Hey, is Lucescu the guy, or should we bring back Pablo? Right? That would be just absolute. That'd be chaotic.
You know what? And you could see it happening, couldn't you?
100%. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So my thing is, I just think the timing of everything was crazy. And I was talking with Paskin. I was like giving him a shout out, even though he's gonna yell at me again. And we were talking about how it wasn't like they had to announce something for ticket sales, right? For season tickets, it wasn't like they had to announce something to get transfers in. Sometimes that happens before deadline, right? But this was just, I mean, they're still a couple weeks away from qualification for the Conference League. They're not looking at season ticket stuff yet for next season. So I just think the timing was crazy and a little odd.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess they had to let Garcia know that he wasn't going to be required next year as head coach. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it kind of all lends itself to what we said earlier, that it's left a bitter taste in the fans' mouth, like
Right.
how it was handled. And this is, again, another situation. I mean, we love Savvivis, obviously. You know, he's done so much for the club. He's not, and he hasn't been to Greece since the pandemic broke, so he's not exactly running things up close. It's just kind of like not dissimilar to the Viedinha contract situation at the start of last season, where it was just handled poorly.
Yep.
So, I mean, once again, unfortunately, our off-field, you know, our front office, whatever you want to call it, you know, handles stuff poorly, and it's just another example of it here. It's unfortunate, but I'll want to throw a question at you before we kind of keep going through this. We've said all that. We've, you know, emotional about it. Garcia's, you know, a legend of the club. He's won a trophy now as a coach, blah, blah, blah. But now, like, take all that out and you're Savvivis and you have Garcia and Lucescu in front of you as options. Has he made the right decision in appointing Lucescu purely on a coaching basis? Or do you think it's more complicated than just coaching ability and, you know, this could have like deeper effect on the team?
He's a businessman. You know, I think what he did is best for business. You know, I think bringing in a coach that had won the title before, like, as you mentioned, probably one of the most successful PAOK coaches in history. It's a business. I think they wouldn't have brought him in if they were planning on keeping a lot of these players that may be loyal to Pablo. And I think I'm going to touch upon this later. But I think they're bringing him in knowing that they're going to make a lot of money in transfers, and they're going to revamp the whole squad to fit whatever Lucescu wants. I think they're giving him free reign, right? If they were to keep the same players, I could see there being some sort of, you know, kind of cliques forming, right? Or sides, right? You have the Pablo Garcia side, and then you have Lucescu side. But I mean, that's ultimately what I think, is that I think he looked at the two coaches and said, we were so far behind Olympiacos. We want to be relevant again in Greece and in Europe. Bring in the big name coach, pay him a lot of money, give him the money he needs to buy players, and see what happens. I don't think he wanted to go through another year like this.
Yeah, which is understandable, and I think as fans, you have to think that Garcia at the helm, like, people would have been wanting us to be in the title race, right? And like
Right.
close to Olympiacos, if not winning it. Like, I think PAOK has changed level now after, you know, what's it been, 5 trophies in 4 years, where, you know, they're really demanding trophies and, you know, being in the title race. Again, I'm like careful not to say winning the title, because we know how hard that is to do in Greece, especially coming from where we've come from in our past. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's understandable, I guess. Like, it's a business sort of based decision, but yeah, I mean, I'm still just comprehending, man. I still don't know how I feel about it, because I hope what you said happens. I hope that, you know, because it doesn't matter who the coach is. Like, this team, obviously, as it stands, isn't good enough to win the league.
Right.
So there needs to be turnover. There needs to be players bought in. So they've obviously planned for Lucescu for a while. A technical director hasn't been announced yet to replace Rebe, who left a few months ago. They're expecting that to happen the next day, and apparently Lucescu is going to be given free reign, which I think was the issue as to why he left a couple of years ago, when
Right.
he left us kind of on the eve of our preseason. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully he brings in players that he wants to, and, you know, then he can start building towards something special again. But it's going to be interesting. Viedinha, right? He's obviously our captain. He's very close with Garcia. Obviously was a teammate previously, and now captain-coach relationship. Like, Viedinha kind of established himself in the last month of the season as a third centre back. I don't know if Lucescu is going to play that system, to be honest. He's always been a 4-2-3-1 sort of manager. So it's just like little things I think about. But like Vieirinha obviously has a lot of say and control in the locker room. So if he tries to put him back at wing back, where I think we can see Vieirinha physically can't really cope with that sort of role,
right?
How he's going to react. I mean, I'm sure Vieirinha will be fine. He's got a good relationship with Lucescu. He did previously, so there's just so many things swirling around my mind with this change. So I'm sorry, I'm blabbering on.
No, it's fine. So let's get into. I mean, this kind of goes into expectations based off of the players that we have coming back, or that we're going to look at buying in terms of positions. So I'm going to give you names of players, and I just really quickly, we don't have to get too in depth, but I just want you really quickly to mention: do you think we'll sell them? Do you think we'll let them go? Do you think we'll retain? And just a touch upon that real briefly. So, if you're ready, we will get started. So, obviously, the big one is Solis. What do you think happens with him?
I think he stays under Lucescu. Yourself?
Okay, I think he's gone. Huh? He did have a little struggle to the end of the season. But I think he's gone. I think we'll be able to get at least 10 million for him. We don't know. Say next year he has another year like he did the second half of the season, and then his value goes even further down. So I think we will sell him. I think we'll use that money and the money from Giannulli to buy some big players. But yeah, I think he gets sold. Next one, we will go with Swiderski.
Either sell for 3 million for a decent price if they can get it, or you need to re-sign him. But I want him to be off the bench striker. I don't think PAOK winning a title has Swiderski. A PAOK team that's winning the title doesn't have Swiderski as their starting striker. I'm sorry to say, even though he was very good in the cup final, I must say, hats off to him.
No, I think that's fair. I think, yeah, I would say sell him if you don't get at least 2.5 or 3. Then I would keep him and just have him on your bench. Right, I think that's fair. Next one, we will go with Augusto.
Yeah, I'd be happy to keep. Apparently, he was a little bit, he was on the outer for a couple months there, and then kind of came back into the team, and ended up being a solid player. I would keep him. I think he's a good enough player. He's young enough. I like him. I would keep.
Yeah, I like him too. Keep. I know a lot of people would say sell him, get whatever you can from him, but I would keep him. I think he's a solid workhorse in the middle of the field. Paskalakis, what do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And with Lucescu coming back, they had a great relationship, and he obviously played his best football under Lucescu. So how much would that play a role? I think Lucescu would want to keep a couple, would maybe want to keep him. If it was up to me, I would sell or keep him as a number 2. Again, he's always been error prone, and I think PAOK winning the title, or a PAOK that's competing for the title, needs a more solid keeper that doesn't have as many errors in his game. So either sell or keep for bench.
Agreed, but he had a great cup final, right?
100%. Man of the match, yeah.
Right, 100. Yeah, agreed. But like you said, there's games where he looks really lost and too erratic, and his contract is up in 2022, so this is a big summer for him. They'll have to extend or sell him, right?
Yeah.
Go one way or the other. Let's talk about Kremenchik.
Well, Kremenchik, I mean, I would say if it's possible to keep him, keep him. I think Garcia would have tried, but now with Lucescu coming in, I think it changes the whole dynamic. I mean, Lucescu is probably going to play a different formation, might want something different. I would personally like to try keep him, whether that's through a loan, but I have a feeling now that he's done and we've seen the last of him, and his last act in a PAOK shirt will be scoring the winner in a cup final, so it's not a bad way to go out.
In the 90th minute too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to keep him. I could see him going. I could see him even getting signed by a bigger club, especially if he actually plays in the Euros coming up and has a good run there. But yeah, I would love to keep him, but I don't know if it's going to happen. El Kaduri. The thing with El Kaduri is he's a free agent. What do you do?
I would have tried to keep him. I think generally with these situations, when they get this far along the road, I mean, Vieding is probably the only exception where once a contract expires, if they haven't re-signed, and then they're generally gone. There's been rumours for years that he wants to go back to Italy, so I think he's gone. Lucescu might potentially change that dynamic again. He was an important player under Lucescu in his couple years at PAOK. So maybe sways him, but I think unfortunately, because I really like El Kaduri, I think he's gone.
Yeah, I'd let him walk too. The thing about him is, right, if you re-sign him, you're not going to re-sign him for a year. You'd have to do 2 years, so it's not the same thing. But is he going to be able to offer you a lot in 2 years? Or I feel like every year we have the same conversation with him. He'll get hurt. He'll say, or there'll be rumors that he is not happy, right? It's been like that for the last couple of years. So I would just let him walk, and we'd be able to find a replacement, I think, pretty easily for him.
I'll just stop you there pretty easily. It just lends itself to how I think underrated El Kaduri is. I think he is underrated player a little bit, and I don't think you easily replace a player of his quality. Not that I think we'll necessarily miss him. There won't be games that will be like, oh, if we had an El Kaduri. He's kind of a player that just, I mean, we've discussed it before, does the right thing. I don't know if we necessarily easily replace him, but I understand what you're saying. I don't think he's one that you kind of break the bank for, that the club will break the bank for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Zivkovic. Andrea,
yeah?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a no-brainer. If he has 1 year left on his contract, so he came to PAOK and signed for 2 years only. I mean, I've read that that they're trying to re-sign and renegotiate with him. It's a no-brainer that you do that and you extend him for as long as you can, if you can. Yeah, I mean, there's a no-brainer, right? He's probably been our player of the season. I don't know if we're going to discuss a potential player of the season later, but yeah, I think he probably has been for us.
Yeah, agreed. I would definitely keep him. Even if you have to pay him a lot for a couple years, I would do that. And then who knows? Maybe if he has another great season like this, you'll be able to sell him off for big money. What about Ingason?
Yeah, so Ingerson is similar to Zivkovic, like an undisputed starter. It's just he's entering the last year of his contract as well, so stuff needs to happen there. And we've obviously been here before. Last summer we were discussing the same things with Yanulis, with Pelkas, with Limnos, and all these players. So 100% keep and resign. I mean, maybe without a technical director, those things have, the contract renegotiations have come to a stop. But yeah, keep, resign, whatever you have to do.
I think that's it for all the players that are on the fringe. Is there anyone else you want to talk about? I don't want to go through every single player, but
yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we could talk. I'll give you one quickly, and then we can move on because obviously there's a lot of younger players that it's hard to know. What about Warda? Warda never really established himself under Lucescu. He's only got 1 year left on his contract. Reports coming out from PAOK was that Garcia kind of settled him, and that's why we saw settled him off the field and kind of kept him in check in the change rooms. Do you think that Warda has a place at Lucescu's PAOK, or do you think he'll go back to being the old Warda? That dynamic's going to be interesting.
I hope he stays, and I hope he does well. And I've always been a fan of his, and I think he's a great quality player. He's only going to be a player that helps us as long as his head is on straight, right? So I would keep him. I would renew him. Maybe you could even wait until after preseason and after maybe the first couple qualifying rounds to see how he does, and if his head is on straight, then you renew him. But that's what I would do. What do you think?
Nah, I mean, given how he played, you obviously want him, and I'm sure Lucescu wants that Warda too. I don't think there's many coaches that wouldn't want a player of his quality. Just the off-field stuff was the issue, which obviously wasn't a problem in these 6 months that he's been at PAOK. When he came back in January, so hopefully he remains like that and keeps his head, because he definitely has something to offer. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Lucescu does, because like you kind of said earlier, you do expect a bit of a clean out to an extent, or while new players coming in, which will then make us get rid of a few. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so if we sell a couple of the players that we've said, including the Yanuli money, we could have anywhere from 10 to 20 million in funds from sales. What position or positions do you think that we would need to shore up and get quality players in to have a run at the league title next season?
Yeah, I think there's a few positions that we need to address. So I think we both kind of said there a goalkeeper is clearly something that we need, and a good goalkeeper can save you, 6 to 9, 10 points a season, which really accumulates, and we kind of saw that in our league winning season. Yeah,
right.
Pascalakis won us points, and we win the league. So a goalkeeper, probably need a centre. I don't know. Do we need a centre back? Like, we have a couple aging guys.
I would look at getting a really solid up and comer, maybe someone that's 23, 24 that can be your third or second center back. That in a couple of years he'll be really good. I wouldn't spend money on a big time older center back. I think we have. Ingesson, I think, is our best defender, so I think he should be penciled in a starter. But then you have Crespo, Varela, both, I think, contract ends up in 2022. You're not going to be able to re-sign both of them. They'll be old, so we'll need someone. I mean, is Michailidis maybe the guy? But I think you bring in one more solid, younger center back. Not like a U19 player, but someone who's 22, 23, who can start and you'll be solid with.
Yeah, now that you kind of say the names, I feel like maybe centre-back won't be a priority between Ingesson, Crespo, Varela, and then you have Michailidis and Michai as well coming back from injury,
right?
Who played a few games. I feel like it won't be a priority. We'll have to get rid of one or two if we do bring in someone else, so that could happen as well. But yeah, we obviously need a left-back because Baba, I don't know if I've read that they're in negotiations to try keep him from Chelsea, be it on a loan or on a transfer. I don't know if that's going to happen. So obviously a left back because Pereira, he looks not bad going forward, but defensively at the moment he's not at the level. So a left back 100%.
Yeah, I think that's good. I would love to get Baba back for one more season. Maybe find someone to groom them under, because Baba he did solid for us, right? It was a little shaky at the start, but I think he became a solid left back. So yeah, obviously if we get rid of him, we would need. Now, what type of left back would you want? Would you want like a Lino type, or more of a solid defender, or someone that goes up and down? And
yeah, obviously you want a bit of both, but in world football that doesn't exist too much. And if they do, they wouldn't be coming to PAOK. So
right.
Yeah, look, I honestly think, as stupid as it sounds, you need to be probably very good in attack because PAOK in most games is going to have the ball and he's going to need to, need to be getting output from both fullbacks, left and right.
Right.
But you don't want someone like Pereira, not to knock the kid because I think he's got some good qualities, but who's basically a cone defensively. That might be a little bit harsh, but he really struggles defensively. So someone who's average defensively, but is very good going forward. I think would be the way.
Imagine he listens to this podcast. Didn't he view your story once?
Yeah, they will view my story. They will want to be me, bro.
I think a good center mid too. I think we need one or two solid center midfielders. Mm-hmm. A 10. Maybe a 6. Right? You could really look at all three positions, 6, 8, and 10, and say we need an upgrade. I would spend most on a center mid because we see what someone like Oliveira can do, right? How good, if you have a really good, solid center midfielder, that changes the whole game, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
So I think I would dish out 5-6 million on a solid center midfielder. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. That's been a position where we've been crying out for reinforcements for a long time. Svab came in and was good, I think he'll be a starter under Lucescu. He's disciplined, he's smart, he does the right things. But
Right.
yeah, we need that just that kind of that star midfielder, or that that 7.5, 8 out of 10 midfielder.
Yep.
Every game. So yeah, I agree with you. Whether it's a 6 or a 10, I guess it depends what formation he plays. Lucescu used to like to mix it up depending on the opponent. Sometimes he'd play 3 central midfielders, sometimes he'd play an attacking mid. So yeah, 100% with you. And it's a midfielder for sure.
Right. And then striker, we agree with, right?
Yeah, well, we kind of said whether you keep Klemensi or go after someone else, I don't think Svidevski can lead the line for a whole season and we can be winning the league. So I think that just one that's coming back from loan, Bizesvaz is going to come back from loan, and he was obviously a key player under Lucescu in the past. Do you think he'll hang around and potentially play off the bench, or do you think his best football is behind him?
No, I think he's done. I don't
Yep.
think. I think they'll let him go, just release him, and he'll go where he wants.
That's an interesting thing. I'm kind of curious to see how this dynamic that Lucescu has with the players that are left from what he achieved. They've obviously aged.
Mm-hmm.
Crespo, Varela, who's still a serviceable Vieirinha too. Bizesvaz. I'm just curious to see how he handles those, and I kind of hope he doesn't come in and try to build around all those old guys. I don't think he will. I think he'll, have moved with the times, and they'll probably still have a role to play within the team. Maybe not Bizesvaz. But yeah, I'm just interested in the dynamic when he comes back and how he handles those guys.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. Time will tell. Anything final you want to touch upon?
Nah, that's it. I don't know. We don't really have seasons. Is this our last episode for the season, or are we just maybe pending a big transfer we might jump back on?
I could see us doing one maybe in a couple weeks, when the transfer window opens up, and seeing how that's going. Maybe we start selling players, buying some players. Maybe we'll even have we'll talk about maybe doing end of the year report cards. Right, we had the mid-season one, so we just wanted to hop on and get this raw reaction. I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and you will definitely be hearing from us this summer for a couple of episodes. And then as we find out our opponent in the Conference League and our path, we'll be doing that as well. But we probably won't be taking another couple-month break like we did before. But thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Hope everyone stays safe, and we will talk soon.